Don't they deserve judgment, Mackenzie? Matt could sense the depth of his unresolved anger rising like a flood of fury. He sank back into the chair, trying to maintain his balance against an onslaught of images, but he could feel his control ebbing away. His stomach knotted as he clenched his fist, his breathing coming short and quick. And what about the man who preys on innocent little girls? What about him, Mackenzie? Is that man guilty? Should he be judged? Yes! Screamed Matt. Is he to blame for your loss? Yes! What about his father? The man who twisted his son into terror. What about him? Yes! Him too. How far do we go back, Mackenzie? This legacy of brokenness goes all the way back to Adam. What about him? But why stop there? What about God? God started this whole thing. Is God to blame? Matt was gripped. He didn't feel like a judge at all, but rather that he was the one on trial. The woman was unrelenting. Isn't this where you're stuck, Mackenzie? Isn't this what fuels the great sadness? That God cannot be trusted? Surely a father like you can judge the father. Again, his anger rose like a towering flame. He wanted to lash out, but she was right, and there was no point in denying it. She continued, isn't that your complaint, Mackenzie? That God has failed you, that he felt Missy, that before the creation, God knew that one day your Missy would be brutalized, and still he created. And then he allowed that twisted soul to snatch her from your loving hands, and when he had the power to stop him, he didn't. Isn't God to blame, Mackenzie? Mac was looking at the floor, a flurry of images pulling his emotion in every direction. Finally, he said it, louder than he intended, and pointed his finger right at her. Yes, God is to blame. The accusation hung in the room as the gavel fell in his heart. Then, she said with finality, if you are able to judge God so easily, then you certainly can judge the world. Again, she spoke with no emotion. You must choose 2 of your children to spend eternity in God's new heaven and new earth, but only 2. What? He erupted, turning to her in disbelief. And you must choose 3 of your children to spend eternity in hell. Matt couldn't believe what he was hearing and started to panic. Mackenzie, her voice now as calm and as wonderful as he had first heard, I'm only asking you to do something that you believe God does. He knows every person ever conceived, and he knows them so deeper and clearer than you will ever know your own children. He loves each one according to his knowledge of their being of that son or daughter. You believe he will condemn most to an eternity of torment away from his presence and apart from his love. Is that not true? I suppose I do. I just never thought about it like this. He stumbled over his words in shock. I just assumed that somehow God could do that. Talking about hell was always sort of an abstract conversation, not about anyone that I truly cared about. So you suppose then that God does this easily, but you cannot? Come on now, Mackenzie. What 3 of your children will you sentence to hell? Katie is struggling with you the most. She treats you badly and has said hurtful things to you. Perhaps she is the first and most logical choice. What about her? You are the judge, Mackenzie. You must choose. I can't. I can't. I won't, he screamed. And all the words and emotions came tumbling out. The woman just stood watching and waiting. Finally, he looked at her, pleading with his eyes. Could I go instead? If you need someone to torture for eternity, I'll go in their place. Would that work? Could I do that? He fell at his feet, crying and begging out, please, let me go for my children. Please, I will be happy to. Please, I am begging you. Please, please. Mackenzie, she whispered, and her words came like a splash of cool water on a brutally hot day. Her hands gently touched his cheek as she lifted him to his feet. Looking at her through blurring eyes, he could see that her smile was radiant. Now you sound like Jesus. You have judged well, Mackenzie, and I am so proud of you. But I haven't judged anything, Matt offered in confusion. Oh, but you have. You have judged them worthy of love, even even if it costs you everything. This is how Jesus loves. This book was very challenging to me, but it uplifted and changed my train of thought. Anybody who's willing to step out of your normal way of thinking, I would challenge you to